Welcome everybody to Freaky Tales episode 5. First of all, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and those of you that will tune in later. This would not have been made possible if it wasn't for you guys that have subscribed, commented, liked, commented, whether it was negative or positive. It's all good. So we want to thank you once again. So before I introduce my special guest today, above me you will see Freaky Tales at Gmail, Freaky Tales Podcast at gmail.com. That's our Gmail. If you want to share your story, if you have a freaky tale, you have a paranormal story, you have a ghost story, anything that has happened to you, it could be from the past, it could be recent, maybe happened to a family member. And if you care to share, please email it to us and we will get to it at the end of our show. We try to get to at least 3 to 4 stories per episode, and some of you would like to be anonymous, and that's fine. Some of you don't mind. Today I have 4 that I'm going to share. Hopefully I'll get to all of them, but if we don't, I know at least 3 for sure. We'll share the other one next week. Now below me, you should be able to see Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram, in case you care to follow us there for future content or possibly future guests. We post up every week. Sometimes I like to keep my guest, if you will, I like to keep you intrigued on who may come and speak. But other than that, I know people have messaged me and asked me, hey, when are you going to start talking about aliens, Bigfoot, La Llorona, Chupacabras, or whatnot? I have special guests already booked that are going to be talking about those subjects, but we just have to wait for those dates. But other than that, once again, Freaky Tales Podcast on gmail.com or Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. So once again, you can reach us there. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce my very special guest, Justin Scarediecat. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, brother. You know what? I'm glad that you were able to make it.
Same here.
I'm glad you accepted my invitation. Before we jump into the meat of this, for people that may be wondering, a little bit of your background, can you share your very interesting background on what you do?
Yeah. So I attend a lot of haunted attractions like Not Scary Farm, Universal Horror Nights, a lot of the big ones. But then also I like to focus on the more independent ones like the 17th Door over in Fullerton. And then I recently, in the past year or two, I've been going out of state to checking out some like other haunted attractions out there. Like in Utah is the first one I ever went to, doing their overnight attraction called Crucible. And it was a pretty intense experience. But yeah, no, that's what I do. I've always been interested in haunted houses since my very first time going to one in like 2009.
Yeah.
And then, that was just always because like I love horror movies and I love like, putting myself in situations like what would it be like to be like chased by a guy with a chainsaw. So it's like, you're able to put yourself in that situation without any harm.
Yeah.
So it's.
What do you think it was about it? Because you had mentioned that since you were a young boy and when you first started going to one of these, that that you liked it. You were intrigued by it. But what do you think it was that captivated you that to continue to follow up and to attend these?
I'm not too sure. I'm still trying to figure that out myself, to be honest. But honestly, I think it's just because I grew up with grandparents that were like really into Stephen King. And I would hear my grandma read those out loud to me. And then like, they would watch horror movies whenever I was around and stuff. So it's, I just kind of sit back and watched it with them and stuff. And, just something about like, the dark and creepy side is just so interesting. I don't know what draws people like us to it so much, but I got caught up in that web,
Yeah. It's funny because growing up and possibly even now, my favorite holiday is Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy, honestly, that Halloween starts in September.
Yeah.
All of October. And I get kind of bummed out after October 31st.
Oh, yeah.
But the good thing about Freaky Tales, somebody asked, and I'll answer it now, is this only going to be up until Halloween? No, this is going to be continuously every Friday. So until, we decide to hang it up, but we're just barely getting the ball rolling right now. I've always loved the paranormal. I've always loved horror. I've always loved, stories, documentaries, movies about aliens, about dimensions, about UFOs, about Bigfoot, stuff like that. Stuff like that has always intrigued me, and I believe because since I was a kid, my father, has always shared these things with me. Nice. And I pass them down to my kids. Some of them, my kids, they like it. Some of them don't or whatnot. But I'm like the Halloween guy in my home. So now I know your name is on Instagram. It's up on the screen, and it's Scarediecat. Now, why Scarediecat?
It was just kind of like, when I was thinking of like a YouTube name, I was thinking, should I just go with my normal name or should I try to come up with some nickname? And whenever I go to these hunts, I do scare easily. So I've been called Scarediecat along with other words, but a lot of them are not really appropriate to put as a username. So we went with Scarediecat, and it kind of just stuck, and it's just, we just had to change up the lettering a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to share something with you as we dive into it. This is something that happened this week, and I won't say who. I usually like to try to keep names out of it.
Yeah.
Usually when it happens to a certain individual and they share it with me, I'll leave their names out of it unless they say it's okay. I was at a friend's house and we were watching an old school movie. For those of you that may know it, it's called Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
And we were watching it, and his son, he's a youngster, he walks into the room and he says something like, why is it called like Sixth Sense? He was thinking of a nickel and a penny in his mind. And to my surprise, my buddy, my friend, he said, he looks at me and goes, shoot, he's right. Why do they call it Sixth Sense? Like he didn't get it either. And I said, well, the Sixth Sense. I said, we are born with five senses, okay? And we can see, we can smell, we can taste, we can hear, and we can touch. Sixth sense is the paranormal, or if you will, the spiritual realm or the supernatural realm, whatnot. And when I told, his son, the five senses, he asked right after, so what's the sixth sense? And I pointed at the movie. So that intrigued him now. He goes, oh, wow.
There we go.
He says, you're right. His son being a youngster, I think he was, 11, 12 years old. And he said, say that again. I said, you can see, you can smell, you can taste, you can hear, and you can touch. And he goes, so the sixth sense must be what he's seen. And I said, yes. So he asked me, have you ever seen anything like that? And it was so funny because I said, yeah. So I started having this conversation with him, and he says, can you share like some stories with me? So I'm going to share one story that a good friend of mine shared with me. She found out at a young age that she was able to look into, whether you want to call it the supernatural, the spiritual realm, the paranormal, whatever we want to call it. People call it different things. She said that her and her mother, and this is a good friend of mine, so I share this with him. A good friend of mine and her mother went to go find an apartment or look for an apartment. She was just a young girl.
Yeah.
And she says that as the landlord was showing the mother the kitchen, she goes into a bedroom. And she says she looks up, and at a corner, she starts to yell, like at the top of her lungs. So her mother walks in and tells her, what's wrong? What's wrong? And that she's saying, that man right there. And that her mother said, like, what man? Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, that man right there. So the landlord was like, what's going on? The little girl says, and this is her telling me her story, and I'm sharing it with this youngster. that she saw a man hanging.
Oh.
Yeah, a man hanging, and she described him. She said he had blue pants, a button-down shirt. Mm-hmm. He had like a beard. His hair was combed back, and he was purple. I guess because he, had suffocated, choked. So the mom, knowing about real estate, knowing about apartments, knowing about homes, I don't know, most people don't know this, but you can ask the landlord, has anything happened here before that I should know about?
Yeah.
And that he said, yes. The mom asked, he goes, yes. He said, can I talk to you outside? Mm-hmm. Took the mom outside and told her that man hung himself there on that corner. He says, and we have not been able to sell this. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, rent this, I should say. And he goes, oh, okay. So, of course, they didn't take it.
Yeah.
So I asked this girl, because she's an adult now, and I said, do you still see things like this? And she says, yes. But here's the thing that really surprised me about her, because she said, I don't really, I shut it off. And I said, well, how do you shut something like that off?
Yeah.
And then she says, well, let's just say that I don't entertain it. But many times I see things, and I see them everywhere. Not all the time, but I do see them. But when I was a little girl, that was the very first time that I saw something like that. And I realized that I had this, if you want to call it, a gift.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is a gift. According to her, she didn't want it. Mm-hmm. So I get it. So as I was sharing it with the youngster, he really got freaked out.
Yeah, I bet.
And then he asked me, is there really people like that? I said, yeah. I didn't want to tell him that I see things, because I didn't want for me not to come over anymore.
Exactly.
So now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you believe that it is a gift? Or do you believe some people are chosen with that gift? I mean, what do you think it is? I mean, to the best of your knowledge, that allows people to see into that?
I feel like it can be a gift if it's like, if you notice that you're able to do this at such a young age.
Yeah.
Without because I'm pretty sure kids, they're not going out intending to look for ghosts, especially
right.
at a young age. But I feel like it is something that can be taught, and I've known some people that have taught themselves how to summon things, and I have some friends that are Wiccan, and they know how to kind of I want to say conjure.
Yes.
Yeah. The proper word, like certain elements and spiritual things to help them out throughout their day and stuff like that. At least that's from what they told me, so it can be something, it can be a gift, and it can be something taught, depending on if the person wants it or not. It could be seen as a blessing and a curse, because
right.
It's like, you might be able to contact a loved one that you miss so much, or you might see some stuff that you just don't want to see,
Yeah, my father introduced me to a movie years ago. Mm-hmm. It was called Harry Houdini, or Houdini, by a guy named Tony Curtis. He's the father of Jamie Lee Curtis from
right.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay. He played the magician Houdini. Now, I just didn't get it from this movie, but I read a biography on him that he was fascinated with trying to contact the dead.
Yeah.
Very, very fascinated. I'll be real with you. Mm-hmm. First of all, I can't be around dead people. Mortuaries, funerals, I just can't. Mm-hmm. And, but trying to contact someone, it may sound like fun, but can you imagine if they replied?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't really realize what we're asking for. Here's what I'm afraid of. Say we try to contact a loved one, a brother, or a sister, or a mother or a father, and then something else comes through that door you just opened.
Yeah.
How do we really know that it's them? Mm-hmm. I know we could say, well, he called me by this name and they used to do this. I understand that, but we don't know what's behind that door that they've opened. Mm-hmm. I just think that there are some things that shouldn't be played around with.
Exactly.
I had a guy that considered himself to be a Luciferian.
Yeah.
Okay. one thing that he did say that it scared me for him. He said, you know, we could put spells on people, we could curse people. He said, but it will come back to us.
Yeah.
He said, it will come back to us. So now, think about this. Why would you want to do something knowing it's going to come back to you?
That's a good question. You know, it's, I guess it all depends on how upset you are at the person, you know, or it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it depends on what you're doing, you know, if you're cursing someone or blessing someone, like, are you willing to sacrifice blessing someone knowing it's going to affect you possibly negative later on? Or, you know, are you really that mad at someone where you can curse them and again, it's going to affect you later on? It's, I guess that's up to the person that's doing the stuff, you know? So.
Yeah. You know, and this female friend of mine that was telling me these things that she sees, she always wondered, you know, why these things appeared to her. You know, it got to the point, she said, where not only was she seeing them after a while, but she started hearing the voices.
Oh, wow.
And even at times, she said, I can count with one hand where they even touched me. Now it's almost like they even crossed over and they're even touching you.
Yeah.
See, now, I'm asking this because I don't know. I'm not a professional in the paranormal. But what do we call these things? Are they ghosts? Are they entities? Are they demons? Are they, you know?
It's hard to tell because going off of an older episode that you did, you're talking about how they can kind of play off on, they can make it seem like, oh yeah, I'm your dead father, I'm your grandmother, you know. They can make you think that, and they're really messing with your emotions and they're getting inside your head, just to make you welcome them more into your world. And then once they're in, it's like, you know, they're free to like do whatever they please now.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to tell because it's like I've dealt with this a few times. A long time ago, like back in 2005, my grandma passed away.
Yeah.
And a few years after she passed, we started like smelling her perfume around the house, and it's a very specific. She only wore like one brand ever, one fragrance ever, and we were cleaning out a closet in one of the rooms in there, and the smell just came out like almost like if you were standing next to her.
Yeah.
And you know, we were like all excited, like, oh my God, like, you know, grandma's here to visit. That's like, you know, we're kind of happy a little bit, you know. It's like, you know, we're saying hi and everything like that. We're praying a little bit. But then a thought of mine comes into my head, and I didn't really say anything out loud because I don't want to, like, you know, be like a bummer to everyone. But it's like, what if this is something that's messing with us? You know, because I've seen it in movies, read about it in books and studies and stuff like that. And at first, it's nice to think that like my loved one has come from beyond the grave to say hi one more time because they know that we miss them. But it's a 50-50 chance that it might be something that knows that we're suffering, and these things feed upon, like, you know, bad energy. They feed upon sadness and anger. So it's really hard to say. It's gambling a little bit, you know. So it's
You know, before we went live, you were sharing with me that you were listening to one of our podcasts where we were talking about people selling their soul to the devil, you know, to Lucifer.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So to repeat the story, as soon as you guys started talking about Lucifer and everything, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was about like, I want to say the anatomy of him. So like you were saying that he had like trumpets and the heartbeat of a drum and everything like that. He was made with musical instruments. It was that moment, and I see a red Jeep drive by on the freeway.
So you're driving, listening?
Yeah, I'm driving, listening to this. Yeah, sorry. I'm driving, listening to it, and you guys are talking about that. And then as soon as I see a red Jeep pass by me, and engraved into I'm horrible with car parts, but the thing that holds the spare tire. Yeah. Engraved in there is the word Lucifer, just big and easy to read. And I was like, kind of like immediately goosebumps.
Like, what a coincidence.
Exactly. And then afterwards, throughout that day, and then that was a week ago, and then for the past week, I've been seeing a good amount of red Jeeps. Like, not like a lot where it's like the streets are just filled with them, but It's almost like before listening to that and everything like that, I've never noticed a red Jeep. But now I'm kind of seeing them more.
Right.
I don't know if my mind's just playing tricks on me or something, but it's always a red Jeep, and it's like, you know, almost the exact same type of model.
Right.
You know, like the Cherokee or the I don't even know the other model, but yeah, the off-roading ones.
I mean, here you are listening to our podcast, Freaky Tales. I mean, talk about a freaky story.
Exactly.
You know, you're listening to it. We're describing Lucifer, and then you're behind this Jeep, and then it says Lucifer on his car, on his Jeep. Yeah. Like, wow. You know, I've never seen that, and I know that would have freaked me out if I would have seen that listening to Freaky Tales or somebody's podcast or whatnot. You know, I'm going to share something with you because I've shared this story plenty of times with loved ones because I didn't know what this was. Okay. We were in Oxnard. I took my two boys to a our favorite team was out there practicing. Okay. Before the season started, they were at the football team. We went and got a hotel, and we were actually supposed to stay at the embassy, the same hotel where they were staying at. They were booked. We kind of got there late. We got a room. I didn't really like the room, but that was the only one open for that weekend. So I went ahead and got it. And sometimes, you know, we never know what goes on in some of those rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of crazy things could happen in some of those rooms. And let me share something with you. My two boys slept in one bed. I slept on the other. And this was several years ago. I want to say maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, somewhere around there. I'm laying on my back, and I remember as I'm asleep, I wake up. And as I wake up, now keep in mind, I'll reenact the way it happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I opened my eyes. Why, I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was something that looked white, almost like a blurry white, like a silhouette, standing at my feet, if you will, like at the end of the bed where my feet are. And I remember as soon as I opened my eyes and I looked down at my feet, it jumped on top of me. Okay. Now I will say this: whatever he was, he had possibly his buttocks, or whatever it was, on my chest. I could barely breathe, and he was holding down my hands.
Yeah.
And believe me, I don't go around sharing these things because people would think you're crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't breathe. I don't know if he had multiple hands, but it literally felt like my hands are down and my chest is being pushed in. Now, some people would call that sleep paralysis, or people would call that. Okay. But I saw this thing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like I just couldn't move and I couldn't open my eyes were open. And the best that I can do was kind of turn around to my sons and hoping that they would wake up.
Yeah.
And all they heard was, which was me.
Yeah.
And I could not move. And finally, one of my sons, I guess he must have heard me, turned on the light. And when the light came on, that's when I was able to get loose.
Yeah.
And they were terrified. They told me, what happened? What happened? And I just said, something just attacked me right now. Something just attacked me. And they were scared.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing that I would recommend people when things like that happen, you don't necessarily have to be a religious person, but for me, I do have a prayer life. I do pray. When people always tell me, you know, you're always up, you're never down, you're never depressed, you don't suffer from anxiety, you don't have this. What is your secret? I said, my secret is simple. I pray, and I do. Okay, yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a religious person or follow anyone, but I do pray. So I got up and I told my kids, we gotta pray right now.
Yeah.
I just got attacked, and they witnessed it. Now, people would say, you know, I've had that's what we call sleep paralysis or whatnot. Look, whether it's sleep paralysis or not, I saw this thing.
Yeah. It wasn't just a matter of like feeling something, you saw it.
Right. And it wasn't like, there's been times where I've been asleep and I could see myself getting up, and I see myself and I leave my room. That's for another show.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a whole. Wow, that is.
Yeah, I've done that before, and believe me, I don't. But since this is Freaky Tales, I'll share it.
Okay.
But I usually don't try to tell people these stories because believe me, you'll get people that will say, this guy's a weirdo.
Yeah.
And I've tried to open up to people before, and believe me, those people don't talk to me again.
Really?
Yeah. So my kids witnessed it. But this thing was white, like a white silhouette in the dark. I saw it. And as a matter of fact, when we take break, I'll pretty much show you somewhat of a picture of what I thought it looked like. Okay. But now, I was awake and I saw this. I wasn't asleep.
Yeah.
So what do we call that? Is that a ghost? Is that a haunted hotel? Is it just something that walked in? Did somebody bring it in? Maybe my neighbor? Those, how do you explain those things? That's the whole paranormal thing that people are intrigued by. People are drawn to this.
Yeah, there's so many like possibilities of like, is it because something happened at the hotel before, like years ago, and now it's affecting the presence now? Or is it maybe something that like the person in the room next to you, maybe they brought something with them and they were like, oh, hey, like the spirit's like, there's someone else to mess with, so let's go mess with them now. And you never know. You got to be like really cautious with this stuff.
Yes. One of my sons, after time went on, he kind of doubted that happened. He thought I was just having a nightmare like that. He kind of excused it for that.
Yeah.
And sad to say, because I don't wish this on no one, recently he just experienced that.
Oh, man.
He just experienced that. And let me tell you something. I saw it in him. You can usually see it in somebody's face when he came up to me and he said like, hey, Dad. And I was like, are you okay? And he was like, got to talk to you. And I knew.
Oh, man.
I knew immediately. Now, I know you had some things you wanted to share.
Yeah.
You had a few incidences that happened or that you know of. And if you can share with us.
One of them is related to like something like physically touching you. One time I was laying down. It's a short story, but it's still freaky. And it like, just like your son, I kind of played it off for a while. Like when it first happened, I just played it off as like, what, maybe like I was just trying to calm myself down. Like maybe it was just like a little twitch in my arm. But then I was like thinking like, you can't really twitch, like what just happened. But what happened was I was laying there and I was on my back and then my arm just got somehow pushed underneath me. Like it seemed like if someone would like pushed it like right underneath my back and everything. And I kind of moved a little bit. And I remember I got so freaked out, I just jumped out of bed and just went into the living room without skipping a beat. I was like, I'm not staying in that room anymore because I don't know what touched me. And like, it freaked me out. And it's sometimes like I would say for like the rest of that month or two, it would happen every now and then. It would like, it would be something on my leg. Like my leg would kind of move out on one side, or like I would feel like something's like pulling on my toe. It stopped and hasn't happened ever since, thank God. But it was just weird. And I tried to like come up with so many excuses of like, why is this happening? Like, it must be something wrong with my body. It's probably like a neurological thing or something. But then after finally I kind of came to the conclusion of like, that was something in my house, and it's freaky. And it's all we can do is just like from what you were saying about your friend that sees ghosts and choose not to acknowledge them, I kind of do the same thing too. Right. Acknowledge it for like the moment it's happening, but then afterwards I'll just start to like, all right, whatever, there's nothing I can do now.
You bringing up my friend, she has a female friend that when she shared with her what was going on in her life about the things that she was seeing, her friend ended up opening up to her and she says, I see the same thing.
Oh, man.
Her friend ended up taking it a step further. Her friend, I guess, if I can use these words, started believing the hype. Like, I'm psychic or I can see into the supernatural realm. She started thinking money.
Oh, like she's going to charge people to like do readings and stuff?
Yes. And I was really intrigued because I said, what happened? And she said, well, let me tell you what happened. She started telling people that she sees things and she sees loved ones that have passed. And if you ever want to communicate with them, like she would comfort people that like, I can talk to them for you. And she said that several times people would come over that were hurting, people that lost maybe a mother or like a father, and they didn't know how they passed. Do you think, people that were really, really hurting inside were going to her and asking her, can you contact my father? Can you contact my mother? And that many times she told her that she wouldn't say anything, so she would try to make things up. See, you don't play around with things like that.
No.
If you don't have that gift, or if you want to call it a gift, don't play around with it for money.
Exactly.
Okay? But here's what happened. Nothing ever happened where people would come over. Like, she didn't see things, but things started happening for her at home.
Yeah.
Like crazy, freaky, weird things. The weirdest thing, she didn't go too much into it because she finds it, talking about it, as entertaining it.
Yeah.
As part of it. So she already told me this. She said, after my friend got yanked off of her bed by her feet several times, she stopped playing with it.
Good. Oh my God, that's...
And I was startled. I said, what?
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. She said, it got to the point that she could feel cold hands grabbing her, yanking her off of her bed. Now she's terrified. Now she's screaming. Now she's worried, But she opened up a door that she shouldn't have been playing around with.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we see all these ghost hunter guys, and they never show us anything.
Rarely, yeah. It's...
Here's what happens. They'll go into a dark room.
Yeah.
They'll have like a green light on it where we can see them in the dark, and then all they say is like, did you hear that?
Yeah.
That's all we see. That's all we see. And then we hear something, a little crackle. There's something in the other room. And the sad thing is people fall for it.
Yeah.
And those are high-rated shows.
Exactly.
And they don't give people the real deal. I tell people before they come on this show, make sure that your stories are facts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because the last thing we want to do is just entertain people with lies.
Exactly.
Because many times there are people that email us and that ask us, can you help? Can you elaborate a little bit more? I don't understand that. I don't want to play with people's lives when it comes to these things, because there are some people that have lost children and want to know, Yeah. Again, we're no experts, but we can try to elaborate and possibly give help, or at least shine a little light on possibly what we may know on that subject.
Exactly.
So, but I know you had some other things that you wanted to share, if you care to, and I'll interject if I hear something.
So some of the other stories that have happened, talking about ghost hunting, I was a fan of those when I first started it. All these shows started coming up on Travel Channel and Discovery Channel and everything like that. I was a fan of them, and I tried, but I stopped because some stuff happened. Well, one thing happened. It was still freaky, but I heard I left it. You know how they always leave a tape recorder?
Yes.
It was just a normal tape recorder, nothing crazy. It actually ran on an actual cassette tape, so it was just like a really old school thing. And I left it in my room and let the tape just record. And I went out. I think I went to to the market. I went walking, so I'd take more time. And I come back and I listen to the whole thing, and throughout the whole thing, I'm not hearing anything. And I'm like, oh my God, why am I trying this? I just wasted a whole tape on nothing. And then it's almost like if the ghost heard that and it was like, watch, just wait a little longer. Then boom, I hear a woman humming. You know what I mean? And then it was like, you know what I mean? It was like three little notes, and I was like, that's creepy. And no one's home. No one's home, and I can tell the difference between outside sound effects like birds, dogs, and cars driving by, and then I hear this. It was all that stuff sounded distant. This sounded like if someone literally went to the tape recorder and did it right into where you speak into it, And then I hear a whisper. It said a name, and then it said, "I'm here," and it was freaky. I threw away the tape. I couldn't deal with it anymore, and I said a prayer. Luckily my folks weren't home, so I didn't want them to get mad. Being like, "What are you doing? With this stuff?"
Right. Isn't it kind of funny that you said you got rid of it, you didn't care to hear it?
Yeah.
Hear it. Okay, but then there are some people on TV that'll say, "Look, you can hear it."
Yeah.
And it makes me really wonder, like, wow, like,
Yeah, this is not something you should be like, trying to make a profit out of, because, you know, these spirits, they don't know that you're just trying to make a buck. They think that you're legitimately trying to contact them.
Right.
They
Right.
don't like, oh, it's just so and so. They're trying to just make some money, and it's almost offensive if you think about it. It's like,
absolutely. I'm going to share something with you, and I'm going to encourage others that are listening that have lost loved ones not to do this.
yeah,
What I'm about to share with you, I encourage you not to do it, because this story that I'm going to share, it really got to me. Like, it really did, because it really messed up a good friend of mine.
oh man,
Okay, and so I just warn you once again: do not try this. One of my friends, he took care of his mother. He loved his mother dearly. I lost my mother and I lost my father, and those are wounds that never quite heal. They over time, it just gets better to deal with, but the pain never really goes away.
yeah,
So people that are listening can understand what I'm saying when it comes to a loved one. So my friend, I'll just say his name Daniel. He shared this with me when it happened, and he was taking care of his mother. They call it hospice when they bring him home. She had her own room, and you know those little receivers that we put by a baby, and then we put the other receiver in the living room in case the baby cries.
oh yeah,
they can hear it.
Yeah,
Okay. He had it in the room, and he had the other one in the living room. It was just them. Every once in a while, he would hear her say, "Daniel," Daniel. Okay, so he would go into the room, and he would see that she was asleep.
okay,
Yeah, sleep. He's thinking maybe she fell back asleep, or maybe she was talking in her
sleep, yeah.
sleep. He goes back, and he kept hearing, and he's reenacting these noises for me. And in that, she gave one last breath. I guess it happened so quickly. So he runs to her room,
Yeah.
and she has her mouth wide open. She passed away.
Oh man,
Okay, she had passed away. So he was, of course, he went through a hard time. So they eventually come to pick her up, and they take her. And now he's very, very lonely, obviously, like we all are who lost loved ones. And he's crying. And I remember he called me and he said, man, when he took my mother, he says, I don't even want to live anymore. He kept telling me, I don't want to live anymore. If I could just talk to my mother one more time. And, because we never, it seems like mentally, we never prepared to lose. I always thought that I would live with my mother and my father forever.
Yeah.
Why I thought that? Because that's what I wanted, But you never prepared for them passing on. So after we hung up and I encouraged him, what would your mother want you to do? And then he started crying, and then he told me she would want me to live. And I said, then do that.
yeah,
I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? So the next morning I go see him. And he tells me, come here. He goes, I haven't gone to sleep.
really,
And I said, okay. He said, an hour after I talked to you, I turned the receiver back on in the room. He said, and I came out to the living room, and I kept saying, Mom. And this is the part that I tell people, don't do it. Leave it alone. He's fallen asleep. At first, he thought to himself, it was a dream or whatever, but he heard through the little static, Daniel. He woke up,
yeah,
and he says, I know my mom's not there. So what is that? Here's what he said. It wasn't like I felt like joy to hear back from her. I got scared.
yeah,
And that he waited. He said maybe 30 minutes passed, because I looked at my clock. And then I hear her moving around like in the bed, like fixing herself. He said, so I get up and I slowly walk to the room and I look in. He goes, and there's nothing there, but the speaker's there. So he walks back out, he sits down, and in Spanish, she said, ayúdame, help me.
Yeah.
Daniel. And he said he turned it off. He said he got terrified. Terrified, okay?
Oh, man.
But here's the part that messed him up. He was convinced that that was his mother.
Yeah.
So here's what he did. He took her clothes. He said, I took a dress. I took one of her dresses. I took a pair of her sandals, underwear, and a bra to my home. He says, and I put them in the closet. And I said, why would you do that? Just like, memory of? And here's what he said. He was convinced. He said, in case my mother wants to come visit, she'll have something to wear.
Oh, man.
So I knew that it really messed with him, like it would anyone. And he said that several times he would wake up and his closet would be open with the light on.
Oh, man.
And he said it just got to the point now where it was more scary than it was joy.
Yeah.
Of maybe getting his mother. And he said the dress that he had on a hanger, after a while would just be on the floor, And he said after a while, he goes, as much as I love my mother, and it took him a long time to do this, he ended up getting rid of it. He goes, I ended up getting rid of the speaker. He goes, but plenty of times, he said, believe me, man, he said, I would turn that on and put it in the closet and wanting to hear something. So I encourage people, be very, very careful when we claim we want to hear from the other side.
Yeah, it's almost like you have such a tunnel vision to just hear that loved one's voice again that you forget about the other risks.
Yes.
And everything, and it's just something you have to always remember, and it's sad to think that, like, all right, that might not be the person I miss so much, but it's for your own safety and the safety of anyone else that lives with you. That's really, like, oh man, that's a really sad story.
Yeah, it is. And every once in a while, when we see each other, he'll bring her up and he'll say, I dreamt of my mother. He goes, but it's always, why did you leave me?
Oh, man.
And of course you try to encourage people like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's someone watching right now that lost a loved one, and maybe they tried something like that. I truly believe that based on my mother and the way my mother was, of course she'd always want us to remember her. Yeah. Love her memories, but also at the same time let her go. If she's at rest, let her be at rest. But I think a lot of times we try to conjure up something, and we don't know. Again, we can call them ghosts, we can call them entities, we can call them spirits. Some people believe, again, there's a heaven, there's a hell, there's purgatory, wandering spirits. Maybe they don't want to go anywhere. Yeah. Is that true? I don't know. I've never been to the other side.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. We never know what's on that other side until we go there, but then we can't really share that message. Right. It's sometimes me and my fiance will joke around saying hey, if I tell if I die, we should do like what Houdini did, just like that, because we heard about the stories that he had a secret word for his wife, and that when she did a seance that to listen for that word, that's how she knows it's really him. And we like, she made a joke, we're both kind of joking around the fact like, if this would be my secret word, it'd be like little silly words. But then I told her, like, in all seriousness though, don't try that, because I wouldn't want you to bring in something else that's pretending to be me, because what if I can't get to that door in time, or what if I do get to that door but then something else comes in? Yes. It's, or whatever the facts may be, or whatever, the truth is on the other side. What if, right, the door never does open, at least for spirits like that. It's only opening for things that are like angels and demons, only they have access to it. We never know. So I always tell her, it's fun, we want to joke around about it between us, but if I do die, don't try that. Because, let it go. Yeah, just remember me, but also let me go. Yeah.
They actually did it in the movie. I think his last words of Houdini, and in the biography that I read, he believed he's also like a magician, and also like an escape artist, almost like a David Blaine. Yeah. Okay. And as a matter of fact, David Blaine, the magician, bought Harry Houdini's home.
Yeah.
So he lives in Houdini's house. Even though Houdini was a great magician, I don't know if I want to live there. Okay, because
No, he was really into like the black magic and everything
Yes.
like that. That was like the untold side of him that they finally started bringing up more of.
right.
Yeah.
And now, in the movie and in the biography, it was stated that he thought because of he can get out of so many things that he can possibly find a way back.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, in the end of the movie, when he dies, this is the movie Houdini played by Tony Curtis. He says, "I'll be back, I'll be back," and he dies. Okay, well, guess what? He's never came back.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that. My opinion, I don't have no facts on this. Okay,
Yeah.
that when a person dies, I don't think they can come back. That's just me. I know some people believe that their loved ones come to visit them.
Yeah.
Me, as much as I love my mother and my father, I don't want them to come visit me and tell me that it's them.
Yeah.
You know, it might. I just want to remember them as who they are.
Exactly.
Again, I'm sure there's people out there that are listening, because in some of the letters that I've read that that they emailed us, some people express that they've opened certain doors and other things that they didn't expect came in. Other weird things started happening.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know the type of door that we're opening, you know. But before we got a few minutes before we take an intermission break.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share on that subject?
On the subject of
Because-
opening doors.
Or ghost,
Yeah,
or
ghost.
if you will, like I said earlier about in Oxnard, is that a haunted motel? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
'Cause I'm gonna get into, when we come back, very, very fascinating story about a close friend of mine, close to the family, that shared with me things that have been going on in this house for at least 30 years.
Oh wow.
At least 30 years.
Wow.
So it's going to get very interesting. I want to save the best for last.
Of course. Yeah.
So if you have anything you want to share or add to what we have said,
Yeah.
you know, feel free.
You know, going off of like, you know, the when you had Rick Creeper on here, he worked at Dark Harbor, and me and him we talk a lot. So he was telling me a lot of his ghost stories and some of the ones that he told on this show too. Like, you know, and the night one night I went there to go see him perform in one of the mazes and stuff like that, and it was inside of the ship. And of course, everyone knows with the Queen Mary, it's notoriously haunted. It's, you know, a lot of people have died on there because it was a transporter ship from World War II, and like, you know, there was like, I forgot what disease that broke out on there, but
There's a lot of history.
yeah, a lot of history, yeah. And you know, so just it's notoriously haunted, and we got me and my fiance, we got a taste of that when we went there. We went there, and like, you know, I film when I'm going through the mazes so people can see my reactions. It's something funny, you know, because like I said, I get scared easily. And so we filmed through Rick's maze, and we see him on camera, you know, and everything's all good. Then we exit that maze, and then we go into another one that's on the other side of the ship. My camera's fine, full on battery, nothing's wrong with it. But as soon as we're waiting in line, and we get like a little bit more, like kind of more on deck of the ship, battery drains out. And so I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I got a backup. It happens. And I put in the backup, and it's fine for a few minutes. I'm kind of filming us in line, talking about like, you know, doing some reviews about like the previous maze, you know, talking about the effects. And then next thing you know, battery dies again.
Yeah.
And this is a fresh new battery. I charged it on the car ride over there. And then I'm like, okay, this is crazy. It's not like, I was like, let me just check on the other battery, because I know that one was fine. Put it in, battery's fine again.
Right.
So and it's like kind of like that common thing that they say that like ghosts, they drain the energies of any like electronic equipment and stuff like that. So it was really creepy to like actually have that happen to you. You know what I mean?
You know, there's a lot of, that's the one common thing with a lot of these people that call themselves ghost hunters or whatnot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of makes you wonder, like, what is it about it?
Yeah.
Or what is it about that area that drains, these
Mm-hmm.
batteries, or if you will, just makes you wonder, like what is the purpose of that, or
Yeah.
what is the energy there that powerful that it just sucks? Like, now think about this.
Yeah.
If it drains batteries, is it possible that it's maybe taking something away from you, is draining you out of something?
That's actually another story I want to talk about. At the exact same location, Queen Mary. This was years before I started going to Dark Harbor and any of the haunted houses and stuff like that. I went to the Queen Mary just on a normal day with my folks and a friend of mine from school. Everything was fine. We were excited. We're like, oh my God, we're going into this spooky ship. This is crazy. This is a
Yes.
part of history. We were just all excited. And we get into the room that's notoriously haunted there called B340.
Okay.
Back then, it wasn't available to rent. You couldn't stay there. But now it is. So people can stay there, and I believe if you read the reviews, there's some ghost stories. But anyway, so we go in there, and it looks like it's everything's scraped down to the metal walls of the ship. There's when you take out a sink that's been in there for so long, it leaves that silhouette of mold and
Yes.
rust. There's that. It's just one room. There's not even anything separating from where it used to be the bathroom to the living space of it. It's all just one room. Everything's taken down, and we're in there. And as soon as we went up in there, a certain energy just kind of came through me and my friend, and we were just more alert and really anxious. And we didn't know nothing about the room at the time. We didn't learn about it until the lady started talking about it. But we were already feeling I need to get out of here. I want to go. I want to stand near the door, but there's a large crowd with us, so it's hard to kind of maneuver everything.
Yeah.
And so we were just I really want to get out of here. I really want to get constantly thinking that. And my friend was telling me, he's yeah, dude, I was honestly gonna say, hey, can we go to the bathroom just to leave, so we can get out of there.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you should have, man, because I was thinking the same thing too. And it's and then right after that, as soon as we walked through the doorway that leads back to the hallway out of the room, it was this weird thing of we were calmer now, but we were also it was our energy just went down low and we just felt tired.
Yeah.
It was just what just happened?
Yeah.
It was we went from being just oh my God, I need to get out to all right, now I'm feeling kind of drained and slow, and I just want to sit down for a second, but we had to keep moving.
Yeah.
And later on, something else happened like that again. And it always happened right before the lady started talking about her story. We went into this one room, and we just started feeling really sad. And it was apparently a little girl went missing there and everything like that. We read about it, and we just started literally tearing up.
Yeah.
And we didn't this again. This was before the lady started talking.
Yeah.
This is a few minutes before. So we I see my friend, his eyes are getting glossy and red, and my eyes are getting glossy and red too. And we're just trying to keep it cool together because my folks are right there, but they're kind of looking around. They're not really paying attention. So good thing, or else they probably would have been worried for us, But yeah, it was just really weird. It was just as soon as we walked through these doorways, it's just with the snap of a finger, your mood just totally changes.
Yeah, that's pretty weird, because I've known people that have told me stuff that they've been in certain places, and all of a sudden they start tearing up. They start feeling sad.
Yeah.
They just want to cry, and they have no idea. And then later on, they're told that something happened there. Mm-hmm. And that kind of always got me but, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, why feel sad? Why feel, drained? Why do you start crying? I've never experienced that part, but I know people that has happened. That's common.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder, what is that energy that's causing that?
Yeah, it's science can't explain it. So
Right.
it's how do we really explain it?
Right.
It's just weird.
We're going to go ahead and take a little break.
Yeah.
So once again, everybody, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for subscribing. This is our 5th episode, and we're already almost at 2,500 subscribers. And I want to thank you, the listeners, the audience, for tuning in, subscribing, for liking and sharing. Once again, if you have a story you want to share, email us at freakytalespodcast@gmail.com. freakytalespodcast@gmail.com, or if you want to follow us on Instagram, Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram, Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. We're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute intermission, so please hang in there. Just going to grab something to drink. We'll be right back. We're going to pick it up. I'm going to talk about a certain home that's within the area that many paranormal stories or many paranormal things have been happening there for at least 30 years. And I'm sure my friend Justin has other things that you want to share with us as well. So once again, hang in with us. 5 minutes. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody, to Freaky Tales podcast. And once again, I want to thank everybody for subscribing, everybody for tuning in. And I want to thank everybody that's on the live chat, having fun. That's what it's about. It's about having fun. I want to continue to encourage everyone. If you have a story you want to share, email it to us at freakytalespodcast@gmail.com. Try to make it no more than 2 paragraphs. Sometimes it gets too long. So if you can give it to us like within a nutshell, 2 paragraphs, we would greatly appreciate it. If you want to be named, state that, or if you want to be named anonymous, let us know. Other than that, I have been enjoying all the stories that everybody has been sending us. So once again, we will get to them when we can today at the end of the show. As a matter of fact, John may have to hand them to me right there on the table whenever he gets a chance. So, but over there on that other side, Johnny. But once again, and if you want to follow us, Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram, you can go ahead and follow us there, Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. So we can go ahead and start once again. Justin, I know that during the break we were recapping, going over things that we were going to get into, and I know there was some things you wanted to share about rituals.
Yeah. So kind of going off from where we left, talking about the Queen Mary,
Yes.
and how like the change of energy, and how like really effective it really does take a toll on your body and stuff like that. I remember I used to go to a lot of metal shows,
Yeah.
back in the back when I was like a lot younger. And I would see some like what's called black metal, which is like, they're more satanic. Their lyrics are like more satanic based and everything. You probably seen like, pictures of them with like, the face paint all over, like how Kiss would do it, but more like creepy looking. It's called corpse paint.
Corpse paint?
Yeah, corpse paint. Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember there was this one band. I can't remember their name. I want to say it's Manticore. It was like a really weird demonic sounding name. I remember they were getting ready to go on, and I remember hearing like about these guys. They're like, oh, they came down from, I forgot what state, but they weren't from LA. So they come down, and I remember a friend of mine was saying, I'm like, yeah, I heard a few of their songs. They're pretty cool. They're like, they're black metal, this and that. And I was like, oh, that's dope. I can't wait for them. Can't wait to hear them, And then, if you've been to a concert, you kind of know, like before the band's, like when the band's setting up and everything like that, the DJs whoever's like in charge of the radios is playing like random music. The music wasn't too loud that night, and I started hearing like what's like a bottle, like a bottle being like hammered into something, like tink 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 tink, like a glass bottle being used as a hammer, like very lightly. And I look over at the side of the stage and I see the singer, and I think the drummer and the bass player. They were kind of like holding something together. What they found a rat that was running around through the venue.
Really?
Yeah, they found a rat, and they hit it over the head with a bottle, and then they crucified it on a little wooden cross that they had with them.
Really?
Yeah, and it was when I saw that, and I was like, I kind of wanted to tell my friends that I was with, I was like, I want to go home. Like, I don't want to be here. This is like, it's like, it's the music's cool and all, but I'm not into that stuff. I don't want to deal with it.
It's a mockery.
Yeah, exactly. And I I just felt really weird after seeing that. And then they put it up on the mic stand, and they have it on display. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And I'm thinking, why is everyone laughing? Like, you don't like, okay, whatever, like, you're not religious, okay, it doesn't mean anything to you, but it's like, do you realize what they're doing now?
Yeah.
They're now, like, the rat was dead, so it's like, now it's like they're kind of, I felt like they were, like, doing, like, a sacrifice right there.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's, a human sacrifice or an animal sacrifice, it's still a sacrifice, and they're calling upon something. And the first song that they play, it sounded like they were chanting like a prayer. And as soon as they got done with that intro, with that chorus or whatever, the whole room just felt really weird. It felt like I couldn't like help like, but like I remember having a weird thing of just keeping an eye on the floor. I don't know why. I felt like something was going to happen on the floor.
Like the floor that you were on? Or
the floor that I was standing on.
Okay.
Like the actual, like, the floor of the venue. And it was almost like where it's like I would look away, but then something would tell me, no, keep an eye on it. Like, it's like, be careful. Yeah. And, like, I would see people there, and, like, you know, some people were mosh pitting. And, like, my friend's trying to get my attention, but I just keep looking at the floor. I don't know why. It was just weird. And the whole room just felt totally different. Like, air felt thicker. It smelled weirder than usual. It wasn't sulfur, like, or like like what they say, like when like a demon comes, it smells like
sulfur. Yeah.
Sulfur. Yeah, sorry. It wasn't something like that. It just felt really. It smelled like really weird. And
it was just something different.
It was just way different than what it was like literally 30 seconds ago, and it was right after they said this chant. So I went outside with all with all the people that were smoking and like hanging out.
And this was an indoor venue.
This was an indoor venue, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And I just felt weird that rest of that night. I like going to metal shows. I like metal music and stuff like that, but I never once dabbled into like that satanic stuff because it's
and it's funny because I mean, think about this. And I want the public to think about this, that whenever somebody does like a mockery of religion, it's always the cross.
Yeah.
It's always the cross. I mean, I'm not by any means necessary am I saying that we ought to mock anybody's faith at all.
Exactly.
But think about this. You never see these rock bands or anybody else mocking Islam, mocking, Judaism, mocking Hinduism, Buddhist.
It's always towards Christianity.
It's always.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I mean, think about this. And I'm not here as a poster boy for the Bible, but here's my thing. If the Bible is fake, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Why are you mocking it? If it never happened, why are you mocking it? Like, I don't get that either because, growing up, you've seen a lot of Black Sabbath albums, Dio, Ozzy Osbourne, of course, he was from Black Sabbath, AC/DC, Kiss. You see, and all of these groups, really, whenever they wanted to mock like religion, it was pointed at the cross.
Yeah.
It was like many, many years ago. I don't know if you remember this, that this was considered art. Somebody had literally took a crap in a jar, pissed in it, and put an upside down cross in it, and that was considered art. Yeah, people can Google that, look it up. Okay,
that's really
now think about this. But yet, the movie, for an example, Mel Gibson comes out with the Passion of the Christ. Great movie. Whether people believe that ever existed or not, let's just look at the movie for what it is. It's a movie, but Hollywood had an uproar, thinking people are going to get offended. We shouldn't push religion in people's faces. It's just a movie.
Yeah.
It's just a movie, okay? That didn't really happen. Okay, then why are you mad?
Yeah.
The Bible's a lie. Okay, then if it's a lie, then let us enjoy the movie.
Exactly. Just let us have our fun. You know what I mean?
So now, here's my point. A couple of months later, the remake of The Omen comes out. And you know what the billboards are? And this is no lie. 666.
That's right. I remember that, yeah.
Where are all the people offended at those?
Exactly. It's really...
It's almost like, you want to do one of these, like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Here's a story about a man that preached love and he's crucified. But here's the story of the Antichrist, the anti-Messiah.
Yeah.
The devil incarnate. And Hollywood doesn't say anything. But when the Passion of the Christ came out, I'm concerned. I think
Yeah.
people will get offended. That's what they were saying.
That makes me think, because Hollywood has already made like another religious one. They made the Ten Commandments. I don't know if that got backlash or anything like that. That's really interesting of why they would.
I saw it,
Uh-huh.
and I saw Noah
No.
with what's his name? The guy that played Gladiator, Russell Crowe.
There we go.
Okay. I've read the Bible because I like to believe that I educate myself as a history book. I educated myself when it came to the Bible. Okay, not a religious person, but I read it. And what Hollywood did, they pretty much remixed the story. That's what they did. They remixed the story. It's like if I give you a story and I said, "Here's the script," and you said, "I'm going to give it my own twist."
Yeah.
That's what they did. I thought the cinematography on both were great, but they didn't stick to the original script.
Yeah.
And that's why they flopped. Here's my thing, that if you want to fatten up your pockets, if Hollywood really wants to fatten up your pockets, because there is a market out there for these type of films,
Yeah.
just stick to the script.
Exactly.
But they want to twist it up and whatnot.
Make it more appealing to
Yeah.
whatever other audience out there.
Let me go ahead and share with you. I know now we're kind of taking it almost a little different twist because our conversations has kind of steered us into a different direction, but we'll come back to this ritual stuff that you were talking about. This close friend of mine began sharing with me things that started happening to him around 1994. And now we're in 2020, okay? And there's things still going on. Now, he still lives in the same house, though.
For all those years he's lived
Yes.
there? Oh, man.
He's still living there. The first one was he was sleeping on his stomach, and he's knocked out. Something touches his forearm. He wakes up for the first time. This is the first time he's noticed something. And it's a little girl standing right there, blonde hair, a white little girl, blonde hair, ponytails. And he looks, and as he gets up, this little girl backs up, and she disappears into the wall. Okay? And the way he explained it to me was, I saw it, but I'm just waking up, so I don't know if it was, I saw it in between me waking up and my sleep. That's what he was kind of, at least but from my understanding of it, I believe maybe he was trying to justify it. I'm not sure. But months later, his son witnesses the exact same thing. He came home, his son came home, and he had been drinking. And he says, I don't blame it on my drinking because I know what I saw. He's asleep on his back. He wakes up and he says, now this is in the dark, but he sees the little girl, and he said this was a blue silhouette of the girl, not black, not white. This was a blue silhouette of the girl. Ponytails, blonde hair, white girl. She had a nice little dress. Young girl. He wakes up and he's terrified. He's looking at this. He said he's reaching over for the remote. And he says that when he turned on the TV, he goes, remember the TVs in the 90s? After a while, it would just click on, and then it'll take a while for the screen to, those are 90s TVs.
Yeah.
And he said by the time it went on, it was still there, but it ended up leaving when I turned on the light. He said it took a while to tell my dad. Now this is the son and the father. Okay, both experienced this. And this house is close to here.
Really?
Yes,
Oh, man.
it's very close to here, okay. And what happened was that he finally just opened up and ended up telling his father, I got to tell you something, man. And so I'm paraphrasing the way he said it.
Yeah.
He said, I got to tell you something. He says, I saw this little girl, he says, and I don't know if you're going to think I'm crazy, but I saw this little girl. She was by my feet at the end of the bed, and she was just looking at me, and I don't know what to think. She was there for like seconds, like not so immediately when she disappeared, but long enough that like I know what I'm seeing. I'm looking at her. I'm reaching for the remote. I'm still looking at her.
Yeah.
And I turn it on. It's still there. When the TV turns on, she disappears. But the father ended up telling his son, I'm glad you're telling me this because I thought I was losing my mind. I saw her too. Another instance, the father saw her, and I don't know if she smiled at him or whatnot, but she ended up running away, going into the restroom. So they actually saw this little girl taken off. Now, this little girl has been seen by the entire neighborhood, not just his family.
Like outside of the house?
Outside of the house. Okay.
Wow.
One of his friends dropped his son off at his house. Like, say you drop me off. Okay. When you take off, you call me when you get home. And you said, hey, man, I saw your little sister outside. What do you mean, your little sister? Yeah, she waved at me. She even said my name. She has 2 ponytails and a nice little dress. He said, my sister's asleep, bro.
What?
He said, no, she was outside, right outside the garage. She goes, I saw her when I got in my car and I left. She said, bye. She said my name. Yeah, so it's not only people that have lived there in the house, in the neighborhood, but people that have come to visit have also now have seen this little girl. And from there, things have just gotten creepier and creepier, after that. They said that they did their little research, and before their homes were built there, they believe from the research that they read that there used to be like a lagoon there, like it used to be bare water, etc. And the story goes that this girl drowned there, or if I'm correct, I'm not sure if I heard them right, or that somebody killed her there. I'm not sure, but I'm leaning more towards that she drowned there.
Yeah.
And after that, they've seen a man dressed in a white guy now, dressed in overalls, flannel, if I'm correct, blonde hair, white man. They had somebody painting the back of their house, or their what do you call that? Not the railing, the molds of their house, or
Yeah.
and they had a worker there painting. So the worker's on the ladder, and he looks down and he sees this guy leaning up against the wall, and he says, "How you doing?" This guy spoke to the guy working. Now, keep in mind, the guy working doesn't know who this man is. So we said as he's getting down, he looks over there, and the man's gone. Said the man's gone. Okay, so he shares that with this individual who shared that with me, that this has been going on. Now, this person that's close to me that shared these stories with me said that he has a granddaughter that's autistic. Autistic kids are not going to lie.
Yeah.
Okay. She described this man being in the backyard. Tall, white man, blonde hair, overalls. I saw him. He was right here.
Oh man.
Now we're starting to see adults.
Yeah.
And he's sharing all these things with me. And when he's sharing these things with me, it's freaking me out. That this man has now been seen multiple times. Now, I'll let you elaborate a little bit after I share this next story.
Yeah.
His son is sitting in his car. I'm not sure if it's his car or his truck, in the driveway with his girlfriend. His father is telling me this story now, that he hears a loud scream, like a loud scream. He goes, this isn't the type of scream that you hear like when somebody gets scared from a movie.
Yeah.
This is like a scream that somebody was terrified. Okay. He walks outside and he sees his son sitting in the car. And keep in mind, they're parked, and here's the garage door. So they're parked like this. The dad walks out, shakes the girl's hand, tells his son what's going on. I'll let her tell you that she saw a white man, overalls, walk out of the closed garage door and walk right by your son, like passed him up. He didn't see it.
Yeah.
He told me that he had the visor of the truck down. So he wasn't looking towards the garage, but she was. So out of the garage, the sealed garage door, this man just walked out and passed right by him. Okay.
That's. Oh my God.
Now, this is just me.
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They told me that they spoke to a priest, and the priest led them to another priest and then to another priest, and they never really got answers. You know, in a situation like that, what would you do?
I would get, if you're already talking to a priest, you know, have them bless the house or something. You know, we've talked about, like, well, me and my brother have. When my brother lived with us, we talked about getting the house blessed. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Because it's like, you know, we've had some stuff happen. You know,
Yes.
the whole thing with my grandma and everything, and like, it's, you know, your friend's pretty brave to still keep living there after so long and just kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, you know, what really can you do? There's not really a handbook of
Right.
what to do in situations like that. So, you know,
Yeah.
I would have probably moved too, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's something that he shared with me that freaked me out. And he tells me this. I have proof. He says, and when you come over, he says, I'll share it with you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to get that proof and bring it on here and show it to the public, the fans watching. He said he's sitting in the garage and he has a certain type of like chair in his garage that he's sitting across from. This chair has, it's a long, like a bench. It has padding on it. So when someone sits down, if they're invisible, you're going to see it go down, if you will. Okay?
Yeah.
He said he's sitting right there. And if I'm correct, I believe he's drinking. All of a sudden, he sees the padding go down. Something sat there. Oh, now this is across from him. So he said he takes out his phone. He goes, this is when I had my BlackBerry, the cell phone.
Yeah.
He said, so I just start taking pictures. Okay, click, click, that's what he says. Start taking pictures everywhere. He says, the first few, nothing. He says, but the last one, he says, I will not lie to you because I have the proof and I will show it to you when you come. He says, I took a picture of the Grim Reaper.
Really?
That's what he says. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to certain things, I'm just going to be 100 with you. I'm a skeptic.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, show me something.
Exactly.
So he says, but I also got something better. He said, you can see the Grim Reaper sitting there across from me. He says, but it's just from the waist up. He says this, today the Grim Reaper, it looks exactly like the Santa Muerte statue.
Oh, man.
He says, people got it twisted. Okay. He says, another time, I go back there, and this time I didn't see the padding on the bench, you know, go down. But I just started taking pictures. I just said, let me just sit back there and just started taking pictures. And he says, and I got the Hat Man, and I was sharing with you earlier.
Oh, man.
The Hat Man. When people get a chance, go ahead and Google the Hat Man, H-A-T. Now, keep in mind, when he told me the Hat Man, I didn't know what he was referring to. So as he's telling me this, I'm Googling this. This is a shadow, whether we call it a ghost, an entity, a shadow person. I don't know what we call it. Obviously, it's paranormal. It's in the supernatural realm. And he said he also got that on picture, and he goes, and I'm going to show it to you because I have proof.
Oh, man. That's
Okay.
crazy.
He goes, I'm going to charge up my phone and I'll show it to you. He said, here's the thing, that whenever I take that picture and I text it to someone, it won't show up on their phone. They have to see it from my phone.
Ooh.
Now that's pretty weird.
That is.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
And he goes, but I'm going to charge it and I'm going to show it to you. He says, I won't get rid of that phone because that's the only proof that I have.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And so I asked him to describe to me the Hat Man. So just he wears like almost looks like a Zorro hat.
Yeah.
And a shadow of him, a long trench coat, sitting right across from him. Now, all over the world, people have seen this thing. I don't know if that's the right name, the Hat Man or whatnot, but I believe they actually even made a movie called The Hat Man. So when people get a chance, go ahead and Google The Hat Man, okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about. And if I'm able to get these photos, I'll bring them up so that people can see them, because I like to see proof.
Exactly.
You know, look, let me tell you something. This person that's close to me is not a person that lies.
Yeah.
Okay, he's in his mid-60s. He has no reason to lie. And here's how you can tell if somebody is lying, because they'll share that story with you year after year after year after year, and every once in a while something changes.
Yeah.
The truth never changes. It's the truth.
Exactly.
He has nothing to lie about. So when he tells me something, he's one of the few people that I could say, when he tells me something, I believe it. Okay. So you guys have that coming hopefully soon.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm definitely gonna watch. Oh
Yeah,
my god, that's
yeah.
crazy.
Anything you want to add to it or elaborate, or you want to switch gears here and share one of your stories?
Going off of something like that, I've seen like I used to work at a pet store.
Okay.
I won't say the name of it. I don't know if we're
Okay.
allowed to, but I used to work at a pet store, and I used to work like early morning, like 3 to 4. I would start like around like 3 or 4 a.m. because I would clean up the reptile tanks
Right.
before anyone shows up and everything. So I was working there one time, and like, you know, I would always hear jokes, like people saying like, oh yeah, because we had like an upstairs thing that we kept storage in. And I hear people say like, yeah, you know, this place is haunted. You go upstairs, you see like a person, looks like they're like walking either up or down the stairs, but you hear it because it's metal stairs, so you hear someone stepping on them, and then you see a silhouette. And like, you know, and there's like someone out, there's like a kid running around here too, and I'm thinking like, hey, I'm the new guy.
Right.
They're messing with me. You know what I mean? After like 3 weeks of working there, I'm doing my normal job. I'm cleaning up the reptile tanks, and I'm like on a step stool because, like, you know, I'm short, so the tank's a little too tall for me. But I'm on a step stool, and I just see what looked like a kid in like a baseball tee, it's like a white with the like semi-long
Right.
black sleeves. You know what I mean? Like you know, almost like it was like, you know, like a retro vintage type of thing, you know,
Right.
like clothing. And if you ever seen that movie Get Out, how that guy
Yeah.
runs towards the other guy that takes a picture of him,
Yeah.
he does that run and then he goes away. The figure ran right towards me, but he didn't like turn the other way. He just went away. Like it was like
Like advantage
yeah, like
dissolved or something.
yeah. I guess that's what I'm assuming, because I freaked out when I saw him running. And I kind of like closed my eyes and I jumped off the ladder. And by the time I opened up my eyes, he was gone. But from what made me react, how close he was about how close this microphone was to when I closed my eyes and I like jumped off the
Right.
ladder. So he couldn't have gone anywhere else. We're like in the middle of a pretty narrow
Wow.
aisle, you know. And then like it's almost like, if you know me being a skeptic and saying out loud like, nah man, this stuff's not real, I don't believe that this place is haunted, you guys are just messing with me. I have to go up in that storage unit, and right on the same day too, I hear the footsteps on the ladder. I hear the footsteps on the I don't see a shadow figure. So that was one good thing, because I don't think I could handle seeing
Right.
something else. But I hear the footsteps on the ladder. There's only me and 2 other people there, and those 2 people are working on like inventory, and they're already on the floor, like stocking shelves. So I know it's no one else.
Right.
And then probably like after a year working there, that's when I finally do see the shadow man. It wasn't the hat man. It was like some tall figure. It was a male figure. You could tell because he looked kind of like muscular.
Yeah.
And I saw him, and I had to go up there to grab some supplies. And the light it was on like a sensor, but it always delayed. So like, you know, you gotta kind of like wave your hand a little bit and
Right.
everything. So I see it, and you know, I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, like I'm finally seeing this. This is crazy. So I just kind of ran back downstairs, because like as soon as the light went on, I see him, and I like kind of gasped a little bit, and then he just went away again. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And so I just ran downstairs, and I just told him like, look, I'm not going back up there again. Like, I'm sorry, you could fire me, but I can't do it. You know?
Did anybody else ever witness that other than you there?
Yeah. The person that did the reptile cleaning before me, she would witness it. She would witness the little boy running around. She said she's heard the steps on the ladder, but never. I don't know. Maybe she has. I haven't talked to her in a while,
Right.
but you know, it's yeah, I've heard that. And one of the managers there, she said she was a medium, like the people that are, you know, contact ghosts, or they can feel presence of like ghost presence.
Yeah.
And she said that like, yeah, like the day she got transferred over to our store, she's like, you know, I just want to let you know that I am a medium. I see ghosts. I can contact them. We're like, that's cool. And then you know, we just asked like, well, we kind of put her to the test. Like, well, what do you sense here? It's like there's a little boy. You know, he's like, you know, he's kind of like in a, explain exactly how he was, like like baseball tee, kind of like, you know, like from like the 60s or 70s.
Wow.
And when she said that, I turned pale. Like I was like,
it confirmed.
It was like that's it. That's it. And I would always look over my shoulder every morning that I'm working that shift, you know. And it was like clockwork. Every Thursday I would do that, and so I knew it's like I might see that kid again.
Yeah.
You know, and I only saw him twice. He kind of peeked out from an aisle one day when I was walking by. He just kind of like peeked out and then like went back, and I thought it was a customer, so I went by. No one there.
Right.
And I was like, oh man.
You know, when you brought up that you saw this shadow figure, you saw this boy, let me share this with you back to the same family.
Yeah.
This gentleman shared with me that his son, who's not a little kid, he's a grown man, at 3 o'clock in the morning, for some reason it's always around 3 o'clock in the morning, and most people that are watching this know that you know exactly what I'm talking about when I mention 3 o'clock in the morning. Many of you, for some reason, just wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, or see things, or hear things, or feel things, or you guys go through things mostly around 3 o'clock in the morning. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is felt all over the world. People always have stories around 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So now, says he gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the restroom. And he says, my son tells me he sees me in the hallway. He sees me. He doesn't see a shadow figure. He doesn't see a little girl. He doesn't see this white man with his overalls. But he sees me. So he thinks it's me, and he's walking towards me, and he's like, hey, Pops, I'm going to use the restroom. He goes, and that this person that looked like me walked right through him.
Oh, man.
That he was standing there. He's walking through the hallway, and he says, hey, Pops, I'm going to go use the restroom. And this figure walked right through him. He said, now think about that for a second. Here we have the Hat Man, the Grim Reaper. Here we have a little girl, the white man. We haven't even gotten to the voices yet.
Yeah.
Okay? And now he's seeing things that's duplicating or emulating his family. We don't hear much of that. You said you saw a little boy.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, it was somebody who possibly lived a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is somebody who's still alive, and now they see these things.
And it's almost like now can, like, these things take shape of stuff now.
That's the question. Yeah. It's wild. Okay. So now, my bro that who told me these things, he's telling me that he's like, bro, when I tell you these things, you know, I don't have any reason to lie to you.
Yeah.
He says, I'm sitting here watching TV, and all of a sudden I hear a yell, like of a man in pain. He says, it sounded terrible. Like this man was in pain. He said, and I wasn't the only one who heard it. My son heard it, and it came from inside of our house.
Oh, man.
Okay? Loud and clear. Okay? And he said this one was just clear as daylight. He said, I'm watching TV, and something came to me in my ear, okay, and said, fuck you, motherfucker.
Oh, man.
Told him this. Look, I'm not hanging around, man.
No, that's really aggressive. Yeah.
Very aggressive.
It's
now let's look at how it all started. A little girl, she disappears. A man shows up. He's walking through walls. Now we're hearing voices. Now we're seeing people that are still alive walking through loved ones. Now you're hearing voices.
Yeah.
Fuck you, motherfucker.
So now it's like, all right, it's less likely a ghost. Now it sounds more of like a demon.
Yes.
Or, because you were saying that you don't know if the little girl drowned or
Right.
was murdered. Maybe the reason why we're seeing the little girl is because she was murdered by the man in overalls. That's just a theory.
Right.
I don't know.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
We could only assume. We
Exactly.
could only guess. We don't know. But these are things that are going on in in this man's home, this
Yeah.
loved one that I know very, very well. And we call each other bro. Hey bro, what's up, bro? That's where we talk. But he tells me, you know what, I could just be sitting right here and I have a bookshelf and a book would just fall off, just stuff like that.
Oh,
He goes,
man.
he said, if a book is nicely tucked, how is it just gonna fall out?
Exactly.
You know.
You need to have some like force to move it out.
Right.
Yeah, it's physics. Yeah.
So those are some of the stories, and I can continue to go on and on and on, but I want to get to some of these letters. Now, if there's anything that you still have to share, I'll hold off on these.
Yeah.
Or unless you're ready, or you want to share. Is there anything else?
I do have some like two more quick stories about
take your time.
rituals. You know,
Take your time.
Yeah, just because like looking back on on these stories, it just kind of amazes me that it's like I try to be like a decent Christian. I'm not a good Christian, but I find like I've experienced some of these borderline non-Christian stuff, and not intentionally. It just
Yes.
falls upon my lap almost, and it's just weird. It's like, oh my God, it's like it's almost like if it's a borderline of temptation or trying to scare me.
Yes.
And so one time I was at when I was like really young, I went with a cousin of mine. They were part of this church, and we went on a Christian like camp out.
Okay.
And so we're out there in the woods. I don't know where we were at. Somewhere in California though, like one of those like Indian reservations, or not Indian reservations. They're like little camping grounds that are
Okay,
like that are. I guess this one was run by Native Americans.
Okay.
And so we're there and we go out for a hike. We're learning about the Bible, that typical
Right.
stuff that you do there. And on the way up this one trail, we see a bunch of people there. They look like bikers. And none of them had vests on. They just had like normal clothes on. Maybe some of them had like a leather jacket, but there was no like back patches or anything like that. They were just a bunch of random people there. So happened to have bikes. And we go up there. It's fine. Nothing's out of the normal. The sun is slowly setting, so it's still up. It's bright. They just look like they're setting up for camp. It's like, all right, that's cool. We continue on our hike. We're coming back. It's dark now. It's dark. We have our flashlights out. And then we see a fire because we're coming back that same trail. So we see a fire where they're at. We're like, oh, they're just having a bonfire. But as we get closer, we start hearing chanting, but we can't make out what they're saying. They're speaking something else, and they have all their hands up, like just like doing this. And one guy's like kind of like in front of they're all like doing a circle, but and they're like kind of like, they're kind of standing and like, kneeling. They're all like in different positions. And then one guy's like on top of a soapbox or something. He's like taller than the rest of them, and he's the one holding a book doing something. And then there's a tree next to them, and on that tree there is a white doll hanging from like a white cloth, and they are just praying in front of it. We don't know what they were doing. We don't know what was it. It looked like it was like how you would tie like those corn husk dolls, but with a sheet.
Yeah.
And it's like, my first thought was like something might be inside there, because after like studying more about rituals and stuff like that, I was like learning like they would make stuff like that, and they would hide like items inside of these things.
Yeah.
And I remember walking by there, and it was just really uneasy because I was a young kid, so I didn't know what was going on. And my cousin was just like, dude, just keep walking. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And then the guy that was like kind of like the one in charge, he was like, everyone just stay close. And then we go there, and he told us, he was like, that was I don't know what kind of ritual, but that was something that was demonic.
Yeah.
It's, he said that he's heard about stuff like that, and he's read up on it, and he's like, I recognized it as soon as I saw it, that
Yeah.
we needed to get out of there quickly. And scariest part was that we weren't that far away from them. We were probably like they were more uphill, and we were like a little bit like downhill from them.
Yeah.
You know, but a good walk, like probably like a good like 10-minute walk from them. You know, so we can kind of still, I don't want, like we can kind of slightly hear them because it's quiet at night.
Yeah.
You know, and we're all just sleeping in our tents, and we're just like, dude, like, what do we do? Like, you know, like after a while they stopped, and you can kind of hear them partying, they're laughing. You hear like, you know, cans and bottles and stuff like that. But we're just a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
What do we do? And
Get freaked out or looking at somebody possibly, you know, or performing a ritual.
Exactly. And I was scared because, you know, we've seen movies like, you know, The Exorcist and stuff like that. It's like you don't have to necessarily be part of it. As if you're in the room, you might get something attached. So I would like kind of like ask my cousin, like, are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah.
He thought I meant like emotionally, like, dude, I'm fine. Like, you know, like it's nothing. And I was like just trying to check up on him. Like,
there's a movie that I want to recommend to everyone if it's still available. I know you can buy it, if I'm correct, on DVD, or it may even be uploaded to YouTube. It's a movie that was made in the 70s. And since you brought up the ritual, this is what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
The movie is called Race with the Devil.
Oh, okay.
Race with the Devil. So everybody watching, when you get a chance, check out that movie. These people are camping. They have the lights turned off. They're camping. They're just drinking, like out in the desert somewhere.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, from a distance, a fire's lit. They see a guy wearing a mask. People wearing like hoodies, you know,
clothes
like
and everything.
like a druid would wear. They lift up a woman and they sacrifice her. They kill her. Now they witness a death, a ritual.
Yeah.
Well, they freak out. They start telling the people in the mobile home, turn off the lights, turn off the lights. You know, the people that are with them. The people in the mobile home saying, what? The people in the ritual hear them. So now they take off, and believe me, for every town that they go into, they don't realize that those are all satanic towns.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Race with the Devil.
I'm about to look that up.
One of the best movies that I seen growing up as a kid that had to do with rituals. Check it out. I recommend that.
Definitely.
So
with movies doing rituals, I hear some actors saying that they've like experienced stuff while filming stuff like that because ghosts and demons and spirits, whatever it is that you're pretending to summon, they don't know that you are pretending. They like he's saying the stuff, he has the symbols, okay, let's go, it's go time. All right. I know with the Nun, the movie that came out not too long ago, I'm not going to say her name, but it's a real demon's name. And every time someone says like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm getting a tattoo of that name, I'm like, part of me is like, please don't say that name. You know what I mean?
Don't even realize what you're even doing.
Exactly. It's you don't want to give anything to them. It's
You were sharing with me about this seance, remember?
Yes. Yeah. That's
share that, and then we'll get to the story.
Yeah. So the seance, and the reason why I was bringing up with the whole like acting and like, you know, pretending to do rituals, I got invited to an immersive theater event, which immersive theater means like you're involved in the show, and it's like, you know, they're able to touch you, you're part of the show, you're escaping your reality and going into their reality that they put together. You know, it's a fun experience most of the time. This show was still fun. It was just, I remember it to this day because it kept me up all night that night, because we get there, we're over at I want to say Huntington Park, somewhere in LA. It's at a record. It's above a record place. I think it's called Gimme Records. And there's a door next to that doorway to the record shop, and it leads upstairs to like these places where it looks like someone could live at. Yeah. And there's like the little studio that they're in, that they're doing the performance, and a lot of it's like weird dance moves and stuff like that. Like you ever see like when like someone's possessed, they like kind of like do like weird stuff with their bodies. Yeah. It's like little stuff like that. But there's a lot of pentagrams, moons, other stuff, like, you know, no upside down crosses, thank God, but just like other symbols, you know. And not to say all that stuff's bad, but it's like, after like, you know, studying this stuff, it's like I know it's like these are legit symbols. They're not like, you know, like if like Knots or someone else would have do like
they're just not decorations.
Exactly, yeah. Like if some like Knots or anyone else would have done like something that's playing off of that, they would make up their own symbols. They don't use real stuff.
Right.
You know? But these guys were using real symbols, and it's like, I don't know how I feel about that. And it's like we're all sitting in a circle. There's 13 of us, which everyone already knows. 13's like a unlucky number and all that stuff. And we have to fully partake in this like seance and like little like ritual. And to the point where it's like they're making us hold hands. They're like putting fake blood. Well, yeah, I'm hoping it's fake. I'm pretty sure it's fake though. But they're putting like blood on us, making marks and stuff like that, making like symbols with it. And you know, then one part that literally almost had me running out the door is they make us drink out of cups. They give us all cups to drink out of, and all together we have to drink at the same time. And I was trying to be like, you know, like sneaking. I was like, I'm just gonna like close my mouth and like put the like the cup upwards, make it seem like I'm drinking. But no, I feel like they caught on. They kind of like pushed the cup a little more, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm drinking it then. And you know, I would try to like not keep my hands together, but they made sure that my hands were perfectly lined up with everyone else's. Like there was like, we have to do this right. Like they were making sure that I was doing all this stuff. I'm not saying that their intention was to do a ritual, but it just seemed really like weird. And during this experience, you know, someone I was talking to outside before the show started was sitting next to me, and I'm feeling like a really weird pain in my chest. You know what I mean? And I'm like it's like really hurting, and my head is throbbing and all that stuff. And I'm a pretty heavy set guy, so I'm thinking like I might be having a heart attack right now. Like, oh my God, like this is really intense. Like I want to leave, and I'm always looking at the door because I'm thinking like I can run out of here. But there's someone by the door too, so I'm like, I would probably have to push them out of the way or something like that. I'm trying to like plan out something. And he's my friend. Yeah, my friend. He's like kind of looking at me. He's like, you looking at the door too, huh? And I'm like, yeah. Like we're whispering to each other while they're doing the show and stuff like that. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, nah, dude, I feel weird. He's like, is your head hurting? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, mine too. And I was like, what? And he's like saying like my arm's feeling tingly. He didn't feel the chest pains, but he felt his arms being tingly and his head was hurting. And all this stuff was happening. And at the end of the show, the cherry on top of all this craziness was that we were lined up and they were handing us each something. They were handing us little crystals, like stones.
No.
You know, so everyone who believes in like gems and stuff like that, they were handing us that. And I was like, hey, what's this for? They're like, for protection. I was like, from what? They're like, anything. I was like, what? And I was like I was a little bothered by it. I was like a little upset. I was like, what did we just do? Like, why do I need protection? It's like, what did you do to us, you know? And like, you know, like, I know like they were just, their intentions were good. They were just trying to be like a little spooky and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's, at the same time, it's like, you don't mess around with stuff like that. You don't. No matter if you're playing pretend, you know, come up with your own little things and stuff like that. Don't go off of real stuff, because real things will happen.
Real things will happen.
Yeah.
I think they were being serious when they said for your protection, because they might have, just in case they might have opened something up, this will protect you. That little gem or stone is not going to protect you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
A little rock. You know?
No. I have it as like a token, just like a memory of it, but also to like kind of remind myself, like, hey, be careful next time. You know.
Right. I'm going to share some of these stories here.
Definitely.
One of them is from Claudia Tarazon. I hope I pronounced it right. Please forgive me if I didn't. Tarazon. Claudia Tarazon. It says, one of our rooms from the house we used to live in was always cold, no matter if it was burning hot outside. This room was always cold. You would have passed through it, and we would always feel something in there watching you. One day I was waiting for my daughters to come back from movies. It was about 11:45 p.m. I was in upstairs bedroom. That room, which my daughter's room door was open, I could not by the life of me pass through it to go downstairs. I remember running downstairs and I made it to the first floor. When I looked straight to a mirror I had that faced the stairs, there was a white face looking at me. I couldn't move or scream. I blinked and said, "Oh my God," and it disappeared. My daughter would also feel someone watching her at night. She would fall asleep and end up on the wrong side of the bed. Her TV would turn off and on or just show static. To this day, I will not go to that house. I get goosebumps thinking about it. Thank you. I don't think she I guess she was looking for answers, but she's pretty much just saying that I guess in a certain room, it was always cold. I've always heard that there were certain rooms, even certain houses that are just completely cold. Why that is, whatever is there, the energy, the spirit, the entity, whatever the case may be, is causing it. So there's a certain room, and she said as she walks or runs by, there's a mirror, and she sees a white figure there.
Oh man.
Okay, and this reminds me of the white figure that I mentioned earlier that was in the dark, and I saw it, a white figure that jumped on top of me. Sharing what you said about the chest pain, I know plenty of people that have been around either bad energy homes like this, and they would feel those pains. Okay, why that is, I don't know, but Claudia Tarazon, thank you very much for sharing this. But all she said was, my God, and it disappeared. That's what she said. But let me read this. It says, there was a mirror that I faced faced the stairs. There was a white face looking at me. She didn't say if it was a man or a woman, but just a white face.
Just a face, yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, this one is from, it just says, Angel. Okay, good evening. My name is Angel Gonzalez from Sun Valley, and I enjoyed the podcast. Several years ago, at a 5-story building I worked at for nearly 22 years, on a weekend morning when only the 4th floor is in operation where I worked, I decided to use the empty lobby 1st floor restroom. Only through a use of key can one enter that restroom. And since I worked in the management, I had a key which opens the building's restrooms. As I unlocked and pushed the first door, a very loud sound like the stall being slammed. I pushed the second door and no one was there. So I get the goosebumps and say to myself, be brave. I looked in the mirror and I'm about to wash my hands, and I say bravely out loud, what I do to you? Like, what did I do to you?
Yeah.
So a split second after that, after the loudest thumping sound from behind the mirror, no different from a police battle ram or a sledgehammer that I ran out the restroom, and an entity can hear, okay, I ran out the restroom. An entity can hear our words, no doubt about it, and used energy back. And I was definitely not welcome that moment. Last year I tried it again, but nothing happened. I was cell phone recording it. Your thoughts? Okay, there was a couple of typos.
Yeah.
So, but he was pretty much saying that he was in the restroom, that nobody was in there. He heard, I guess there was a couple of stalls there, and one of the stalls slammed on. What, I mean, think about this. Why didn't that stall go down before he went in, or after? It had to happen when he was there, when that floor is not in use. So what he's saying, that he heard it, he opened up the stall, nobody was there, or the bathroom, nobody was there. From what I get, he looks in the mirror, he says to be brave, what did I do to you? And immediately something from behind the mirror, as loud as a batter ram or a sledgehammer, wham, hit it. So what he is saying is that he used energy, I guess his voice, to talk to it, but it talked back.
Okay. If I may, that's like something I'm always hearing like two different sides on. I had a friend of mine, her grandma was like telling us her ghost stories about the house.
Yes.
Like, every time I hear, like she says, every time I hear something, I always yell at it. You got to show dominance to it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's all like, you just say, get out. You're not welcome here.
Yes.
But then like a few weeks later, I'm like watching like documentaries and other stuff like about ghosts, and like hearing other people's ghost stories and hearing from like other people. And even one of my professors told me, like, I was taking anthropology, so one of my anthro professors told me that she's heard from a colleague, you don't yell at it, you get someone else to do it for you. You get someone who's trained to do that. You don't get no sage by yourself. You don't do any of that stuff by yourself.
Wow.
So I'm kind of thinking like which one's right? Do you show your dominance right then and there to kind of show like, hey, get out of my house, or do you hire a specialist,
Well, when you look at movies like Paranormal Activity,
Yeah.
they always try to get somebody to take care of their problems. I believe if you live there, you take care of it.
Okay.
What am I basing that on? That's just me.
Yeah.
But if you look at movies, they're always trying to get this house needs an exorcism. Let's call a priest. Let's call a pastor. Let's call a psychic. My thing is, you're the man of the house. You take care of it.
Yeah.
So, well, Justin, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yeah.
For coming and sitting down with me and talking about this paranormal, freaky ghost story stuff.
Yeah.
It intrigues people from all over the world. I hope that this podcast continues to grow. People are intrigued by it. That's why they tune in. And, anything else you want to say? I know people have got your Instagram. They can follow you there. But anything that we might have missed out or anything, you want to touch on before we head on out?
No, pretty much.
Okay.
Fine, everything. Yeah, thank you.
Justin, Scarediecat, thank you once again for coming through. So once again, everyone, want to thank everyone who shared their stories. Continue to message us at freakytalespodcast@gmail.com. freakytalespodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, Freaky Tales Podcast, you can also follow us on Instagram there as well for future content and for future guests. Once again, I'm going to announce that many people have been asking about Bigfoot, about aliens. All of that is coming, but I'm choosing the right people to talk about that. I need people that have told me that's my cup of tea when it comes to aliens. Those are the people that I'm bringing in. So you won't be disappointed when I bring some of these people that have did extensive research for many, many years when it comes to aliens, when it comes to UFOs, when it comes to Bigfoot, when it comes to Chupacabras, La Llorona, etc. Those topics are coming. This is only our 5th episode, so please hang in there. Another special announcement that I want to make is that we will now soon, if not next week, the week after, start taking phone calls and people to either to ask questions or to share their stories in case you don't want to email it. Only thing that we ask is that please be respectful when you call. If somebody is disrespectful, you will immediately be hung up on. We want people to show respect. Not too many shows take phone calls, but we want to try to involve you, the public, to be a part of this podcast. So say you have a question or say something went on in your family, you want answers. If we can try to help or to give clarification, we will. Or if you don't want to email your story and you want to share your short story, and I say short because we just cannot have you for 30 minutes. But if you can share it within a minute or two, then you're more than welcome to call. So we will be posting up that number on our social media. So I encourage you to follow us at Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. Freaky Tales Podcast on Instagram. I'll also post it on my page, and my future guests will post it on their page where you can call. If we don't start next week, we'll start it the week after, but we will. We want you to be a part of this show. So once again, next Friday, another special guest. This one, you're not going to want to miss. You're not going to want to miss. Not only was I looking forward to this one, but next week it's only going to get better and better. If you guys have any requests, maybe somebody you may want to see on this show, email us at freakytalespodcast@gmail.com. Other than that, I want to thank John Elkins for making this possible. He's the guy behind the scene. You got to always give credit where credit is due. Justin, Scarediecat, once again on Instagram, follow him, and we'll go ahead and see you guys next week. So thank you for tuning in, and always remember, expect the unexpected. Take care. Blessings.